We want to move on to the Dallas Cowboys, who, as we remember, traded back from 10 to 12 with the Philadelphia Eagles, who went up and got Smith. Cowboys go Penn State linebacker Micah Parsons, and at one time he was the favorite to be the first defensive player off the board, and some mocks didn't have him going until the 20s. Pete, what do you think of this pick?
I don't like this pick, but this is maybe sending a message that we know their linebackers didn't play that well last year. Jalen Smith dropped off in production, wasn't as good. Leighton Vander Esch has been injury plagued, and I think that's the concern is Leighton Vander Esch. I don't think he's healthy enough. He's had some neck injuries, and that's always concerning. So this tells me that they want to upgrade the guys who played last year. I probably would have went in a different direction. I think they had a bunch of ways to go. The corners went off the board, so they clearly were not happy with that. But I probably would have drafted an offensive lineman here rather than take Micah Parsons.
Would have made sense to take Rashawn Slater,
Correct.
4 different spots. But also Sean Lee retiring, that factors into it as well, losing another key member.
And he wasn't on the field that much.
But still,
they're healthy.
Another part of that linebacking group, that was a key contributor for them when they were successful a couple years ago. So, look, Parsons is, as they showed you last year too, they didn't need to take CeeDee Lamb. They took a player that was, in their opinion, best player on the board and, enhanced their offense. So hopefully Micah Parsons enhances their defense. But yeah, you saw the reason why they traded back after seeing Horn and Surtain come off the board. Easy to see the direction that they were going. So they move back and they take a player who was probably next best for them. Again, maybe not the best fit, but hopefully makes their team better.
Dak Prescott signed that 4-year, $160 million contract extension with the contract for 6 years, but it's voidable down to 4. And Dak saying this on CBS Sports Radio: I'm trusting the front office. They know what they're talking about. I think it'll be a heavy defensive draft for us. I think it's obvious you go defense and make our team better on that side. Seems pretty obvious. Let's go over to the quarterback room. Guys, if you're Dak, they're going defense in this draft, but how do you feel about that first defensive player being Micah Parsons?
I mean, I would think cornerback in that spot, and that's one where, I kind of brought up Caleb Farley before. They passed on it at 10, they trade back out of the spot, and then they end up taking a guy like Micah Parsons, who I know they've got probably a high grade on, and Pete kind of touched on Leighton Vander Esch, but the bottom line is more snaps than not. You only got 2 linebackers on the field in the first place, and then now you're even seeing more than that. You're seeing different variety of nickel, dime, sub packages that defenses are playing where you might only have 1 on the field. So if that's the case, cornerback. You have options there. Maybe you feel like you're overdrafting Tyson Campbell, Asante Samuel, or Farley, considering the back issues. But, for me, it was kind of interesting that they would choose to go with this player at this spot, in particular because of his off-the-field issues. And it's not like the Dallas Cowboys haven't had a number of players with that sort of thing going on.
And I think that has a lot to do with this, because I think you're talking about the M with the medical and the C with character. There's definitely some character concerns with Micah Parsons, but Jerry Jones has been known to take risks on players for both reasons, right, for medical and character concerns. And I'm high on Micah Parsons. I think he's an incredible player. I think he can make an impact right away for this Cowboys teams. I have concerns about character off the field. But I think you're looking at a player that could come in and have an instant impact, a player that, if he didn't have those character concerns, might have been the first defensive player taken in this draft. So, and I know positional value, the defensive back, the run on those guys ahead of him, takes priority. But I think you're seeing a phenomenally athletic player who come in and make an impact right away.
I think the interesting thing, too, is, how does he help them get better at the 2 things I think they struggled with the most last year? Pass rush, coverage. Kind of doesn't. I mean, now he is a guy that can match up with tight ends and running backs. Like I'll say that he kind of reminds me a little bit of a guy who was drafted in my year, Patrick Willis. Like he's got some of that sideline to sideline athleticism. He's a tackling machine. When he does blitz, he's able to get to the quarterback. He's effective. But again, I think when you still look at this defense, they didn't cover well enough. They didn't rush well enough. And this is a draft where I think you've got some coverage players at this point. And this might have been the part of the draft, too, where I'm starting to look at a guy like Kwity Paye. If I've got some injury concerns and I'm willing to overlook that, Jalen Phillips had a phenomenal year, looked great in his pro day. He's maybe a player I'd look at that spot. So that's the one curious thing to me. And look, I know everyone talks about, we want to trade back, get more picks. You got to find a trade partner. It takes 2 to tango. And in this particular case, I wonder if Dallas wanted to even trade back further to potentially still identify a spot where, like, Micah Parsons is a player that I think they maybe still could have gotten somewhere in the middle or later portion of this round.
Pete, what was the grade for Parsons?
B-.
Okay. So you didn't.
No, I don't hate it, and I get it because they have, Leighton Vander Esch has the injury issues, and Jalen Smith didn't play that well last year. I understand it, but I'm with Brady. There had to be other options that would better fit this team right now.
All right, let's move over to the control room where our social media manager is standing by. Debo, you got more questions on Twitch?
We got some comments, Chris, and we have our experts chatting here, but we also have experts in the chat. So just a little roundup here. Legion 13 says, good pick for the Lions taking Sewell at 7, but I don't see them doing very much with Jared Goff. Tiny Conspiracy says, the Panthers pick, how unexciting, but reasonable, I guess, referencing J.C. Horn at number 8 to the Panthers. Tom Dawson followed up and said, it does feel blah. Not a bad pick, just unexciting. Maybe because rookie cornerbacks last year were just terrible, and talking about the Lions taking Jeffrey Okudah out of Ohio State at number 3. Our guy Adam Mazer says, I cannot believe the Eagles just own the Giants so bad. The Philly fan, I completely approve that message. And Chris, Aquatic OV says, let's go Bears with a W. They're going 14-2. What do you think, Chris?
Well, they're up to 17 games this upcoming season, right? So maybe 14.
Yeah, it's the Bears. They'll throw one away somewhere.
Brady and Danny kind of rained on my parade a little bit, though, on that Bears pick of Justin Fields, saying,
what do they know, really?
But that no matter who would have gone to Chicago, you can say that. Because what quarterback succeeds in Chicago? Like Pete was saying, it hasn't happened since he was in, college when Sid Luckman.
Yeah, when I was in college, drinking beers, watching Sid Luckman play.
The Chargers.
Prohibition, actually. I had to smuggle my stuff in back in those days.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.